Hello, everyone, and welcome to Full-on, your Fulham-centric football podcast. I'm your host, Ash Woolford. Joining me today for our Brentford review is Matt. How you doing, mate?
I am very, very good. It's been a lovely weekend.
Drew, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, my friend.
Yeah, and AJ, how you doing, mate?
Sweet as a nut after that result, my friends.
I'm going to start a little bit differently today because I know usually I ask AJ the question about the lineup, and we talk about what we shot and what happened, but I want to talk about the lineup a bit yesterday because sometimes you have to take a bit of humble pie when you moan about stuff. And I think we need to. When the lineup came out yesterday, I don't think there was a person amongst us that was happy to see Alex Iwobi's name still in that lineup yesterday, especially after it coming out about his ankle injury this week and the way that Kevin came in and played last week against Leeds when he came on. But I have to admit, we know fuck all. He was great. He had a great game yesterday. Probably one of the best games he's had in a while. So as much as I was moaning before the game about him, no matter what he does, he can't be dropped. I thought he was excellent yesterday, and we'll get into talk about that in a minute. I just wanted to mention it before we started. Let's get into the game a little bit. Drew, I'm going to start with you, mate, because I know we had a bit of a conversation about it in our group chat yesterday during the game about the first sort of 20 minutes of the game, especially up to before we conceded, where playing with the ball at the back at the back. It's a tactic we know that Fulham like. It's how we play. It's what we do. But it was really messy yesterday. I want to get the negative out of the way before we talk about the positives of the results. But there was a lot of really poor passing around the back yesterday. I don't know if it was just because Brentford were pushing high at the time or whatever it was, but does it concern you in a game where we play against a slightly better outfit that we're going to end up coming a cropper to our own sword if we keep doing it?
Well, I think the short answer is yes. I mean, that's why the high press is so effective, and Liverpool had it to themselves for so long under Klopp. Because, I mean, even as youngsters, we were told as school kids about defending from the front, and Liverpool took it to the next level. And with this emphasis now with goalkeepers having to be footballers as well as goalkeepers and possession-based teams, the quicker and the further up the field you can win the ball back, the closer you are to the opposition goal, and the greater the chances of you scoring. So the short answer is yes, but that's the way modern football goes. We're no exception. Silva believes in it. What was galling, though, was it became very clear, and I know we will talk about Brentford, but it became very clear to me that Brentford's only route into the game was a Fulham mistake or a set piece. And ultimately, it was a Fulham mistake. And it was just annoying because you could see it. You could see it. And it wasn't... and the mistake came not because of their press. I think one of us mentioned this in the chat, I think they started to press more after we made the mistake, ironically enough, because they thought that there was something in it for them, and we encouraged them. But yes, the short answer to your question, Ash, is yes, I do, and better teams will cause us problems.
Yeah, I think I wanted to get the negative out of the way before we talk about the positive and the result, right? Yesterday, it's rather unfortunate that the person who made the mistake is obviously Josh King. Having a young player make mistakes isn't great. What I think was brilliant, though, was his response to it. For such a young player to make a mistake like that, very easily head can go down. Can sort of give up, and all sorts can go on. But I think realistically, we saw the rest of the team. We scored. Well, they scored. His head went down. The rest of the team rallied around him, and it didn't affect him for too long. He sort of got back into his game style and carried on playing. Matt, you coach players. You play in teams too, right? How important is it to have players, especially young ones, playing in senior football, have the ability to get over when they make a mistake and just get on with their game and sort of not necessarily and not only just get over their mistake, not try get over their mistake, and then they're not making more mistakes because they're trying to overplay to make up for the mistake they made. How important is it that Josh King seemed very level-headed after the mistake he made yesterday?
Massively important. It shows the mental ability that he has, which is a massive thing on a football pitch, being able to overcome it, but not think, oh, it's a once and done sort of thing. It brings in the aspect of, well, I fucked up, but what can I do to fix it? What can I do to help? And especially having all the other players go around him, pick him back up a bit. It's one of my mottos in coaching is happy players, happy results. And that's a big part of the way I coach. But to have that at such a high standard of football, being in the Premier League, it shows that we have something special. It really does.
Yeah, I think it's an important thing. I think one of the things that was really good about yesterday was you could clearly tell that the more senior players around him respect him as a footballer, because there was the whole keep your head up thing, crack on, but they weren't overdoing it with it. I thought Alex Iwobi's response to us going a goal behind was brilliant, in the sense of, straight to Josh King, don't worry about it, just crack on, carry on playing, and it showed dividends. AJ, obviously, after we go a goal down, we'll get to talking about Brentford and their football in a bit, because we know that we want to comment on it. They basically went 2 banks of 5 and sat back, and they did what they did last year at the Cottage. Obviously, they just went, look, we've got a lead, we're going to try hold on to it. We did decently to sort of break that line. It was some good play. The goal to make it 1-1 was well worked and well taken by Iwobi, and then that caused some confusion in their defence. They weren't quite sure what they were meant to do, which obviously led to the next break where we then quickly made it 2-1. That passage of play, it was a good sign for us, wasn't it? How we dealt with going a goal behind and not letting it ruin our play. But we almost seemed more determined because of it, even though they'd gone they basically just shut up shop.
Yeah, tremendously so. It's a bit of a strange one, because when they originally went a goal up, they actually seemed more on the ball and more offensive, which, considering they had set up to basically shut up shop all game, was quite remarkable to see. To be honest, it came as a bit of a surprise to me, but it worked out really well for the team to be able to open up the defence and get that first goal. And once the first goal was scored, as you said, it all just went a bit pear-shaped for Brentford, and there was just a huge question mark of, right, what now, lads? What do they do? How do they make this work? And that caused disruption in the back line and caused Iwobi to go in for a beautiful second goal. Set up a beautiful second goal, as it were. Just really, really can't complain at all.
No, what was odd is that I thought that maybe after taking the lead again, that Brentford would maybe go back to how they originally started playing the game, where they were trying to press high. Basically, all they were trying to do was try to win as many corners and fronts as they could physically get in our half, because that was their only option, getting the ball in the box and trying to cause it different. But for the rest of the first half, they sort of just sat back and let us attack. And I know it was only an extra 5-6 minutes, whatever it was, in the half, but they were lucky we didn't score again. They were lucky that we sort of sat back a little bit as well, in the sense of we were just trying to keep our shape and keep a bit of lucidity there. What was really telling, though, was the start of the second half, because I was sat next to Mozzie yesterday, obviously, and we were talking about it, and I was surprised that Brentford didn't come out a little bit changed in the second half. They came out and played the exact same way. Then nothing changed for them. We didn't have a need to at that point, obviously, as we'd taken the lead, and we were, if anything, we were looking to maybe play a bit more counter because of what it was. But, they didn't change at all. And what caused the third goal is obviously one of the best cross-field passes I've seen in a very long time. Well taken down by Cess, who for once got a ball in the box early. It's amazing. 2 weeks in a row, we put a ball in when it can go in, and we've had a bit of luck because of it. You know, Ethan Pinnock, I feel a bit sorry for him because it's one of those ones where he thinks his teammate in front of him is going to clear it, and he doesn't, and then in the split second he has to react to try and get his own head out of the way so he doesn't head it. It hits his shoulder and goes in. It's one of those. We go 3-1 up. But the rest of the game
Got a sense
from
of
then
deja
on,
vu.
yeah, the rest of the game from then on was just woeful from Brentford. Like you've gone 3-1 down. Lucky that it wasn't 4-1 after Muniz's goal was disallowed. You know, obviously we want to be on it. We want to praise Fulham's performance yesterday, and we will because there's loads of individual performances yesterday that were outstanding. But if you're a Brentford fan right now and you're watching that, you'd be wanting to jump off. You'd be wanting to jump into the river last night after coming out of that game, because you know, from a team that I've always thought have played decent attacking style football, I know that they've lost players and stuff like that. They offered absolutely nothing last night. The only thing they had, and as Drew said already, the only way they were going to score was from us making a mistake or a throw in. Drew, how would you feel as a Brentford fan having to watch that? If that's your if that it's their big game, right?
Yeah.
Like how are you going to feel if that's what you're putting out?
Well, I think, I mean, all you got to do is read Brentford Twitter last night. I mean, I'm kind of disappointed because you need membership to actually read their Griffin Park Grapevine forum, because it would have been interesting to see. It was easily the worst Brentford team I've ever seen. One of the things that struck me about them was the lack of physicality. They've always been quite an energetic side, but yesterday there was just nothing about them. I thought Leeds offered more in terms of intensity and endeavour. I thought Leeds were much more solid. I thought Leeds were more organised. And you know, to be fair to Brentford, I mean, this is a team a couple of seasons ago that turned over Man United 4-1 at the G-Tech, and they've had some big results against some big teams, and they've produced some good players. But I will go on record now in September and say this, that they look like a team that has the spectre of relegation hanging over them. And that's not hyperbole. That's not hyperbole at all. They were set up. Their midfield was non-existent. They offered nothing up front apart from a bit of speed. And they, I mean, I don't. One of the things that people talk about Brentford is how well organised and how well run they are. And I can't understand, and I'm quite happy to defer to any of you three, how a club that has established themselves in the Premier League, has had a manager like Thomas Frank, can think Keith Andrews is any sort of answer. I mean, he was a Sky pundit, and not a very good one. He always seemed to have it in for Fulham. I mean, Brentford fans, I've noticed, are calling for Nuno to be appointed immediately. I don't think that's a bad shout because, I think in the big scheme of things, I mean, they'll be devastated by the result, but I think it's the spectre of what hangs over them, because they just seem like a team that, like I said, Ash, unless you can tell me what I've missed, I can't see how they're going to score goals unless someone makes a mistake or they get set play.
They had nothing. They had nothing. They offered nothing. They did nothing.
In September, I think it's going to be very difficult to see a worse team. Yeah, I really do. I mean, maybe West Ham because they haven't come to the cottage yet, but it's very un-Brentford-like. Well, but AJ, you say that, and as much as I cannot stand Scott Parker, they're organised and they work hard, and they know what they're doing. That didn't look like a Brentford team to me. Yeah, they're athletic, they're strong, they're organised, they're hard running. You know, they've got they generally, and I know I don't sound because I always talk about Fulham. you know how I've got a thing about explosive pace. I like
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like players that can tilt the field. Yeah. And I know you don't win games purely on athletic ability, but Ash, and I don't want to bore you, mate, and before you mute me, but you know how I've banged on ages that outside of Robinson, we haven't had anyone that can be explosive. Where you think about Brentford, they had Wissa, they had Mbeumo, before they had Watkins. They've had people that can tilt the field, athletically. They it's a very un-Brentford like team, and I genuinely
No.
think, I'm not being hyperbolic, I think they're relegation favourites. I would if I was one of the 3 teams that came up this year, especially look at Sunderland today, how they did it against Villa, I would fancy my chances, and that's half the battle. If you're you're coming into the league for the first time because you think you're outgunned, but I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, nah, there's something fundamentally wrong there. Anyway.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You look at it. The players that we earmarked to be dangerous, right, were Thiago and Sharda. Thiago was shocking. Like I thought usually he's a neat player. He was really bad. And Sharda, he's basically just a skinnier, dumber Traore. Like he's got all the pace and all, but he's just no first touch, no control. He was on his arse more than anything. Like it was so bad. But you know what? Shit happens. Like Brentford go down, Brentford go down. It's going to be more funny than anything else if they carry on playing. They are. Let's not beat around the bush. Let's talk about some of our performances though. Some players that obviously deserve a few before we sort of go into our man of the matches and stuff. Um, I know we mentioned Josh King and the way he reacted to it yesterday. AJ, the performance after the mistake. Are you happy with it? How are you happy that it with the maturity of it? I know we briefly spoke about it earlier, but are you personally happy about the way that Josh King played after the mistake he made?
Yeah, he's a growing player. He seems to continuously improve. The only thing I'm noticing, and that could be potentially as he's slowly investing more into Marco Silva's pattern of play, is he's doing less things off the cuff. That we saw from the first few appearances of the season, where he would turn 2 or 3 players in the midfield and open us up. We're seeing slightly less of it, but that's not. I don't necessarily think that's a downside of his, and more so that he's trying to make sure that he continues to get game time by filling into Marco's philosophy, which I don't think is a bad thing. If we can get him ticking in the way that Marco wants him to, then he'll be an exceptional player and do brilliantly. I just for one am really, really excited to see players when they are more creative and more free flowing, which is just my opinion. But no, I think King had a very good game minus the mistake.
Yeah, the free flowing and Burton, it brings me on perfectly to the next player. Obviously, Matt, we saw Kevin come on again yesterday. Another good cameo from him. He looks like we really do have someone special there. He come on the 67th minute. Some beautiful touches, like beautiful turns, beautiful runs. I think once he gets a bit of consistency in game time, he's going to be really, really dangerous in this league. What are your feelings on him, considering the 2 performances we've seen from him so far?
Yes. He yes, definitely yes. He's got Brazilian flair, which is something that I think is hard to come by nowadays. He's very free flowing. He doesn't think, he just does it. It's like they done a flick yesterday against Brentford, right over the player's head. Yes, he lost it against an ex-player, but it's stuff like that you don't really see in Premier League, and I don't think players in the Premier League know how to defend it. Once he gets settled, more time in the squad and more time just on the field, I think in Premier League he will be something very, very big for us. And I think he's only going to get better. Yesterday he seemed a little bit sort of slower paced than he had done in the Leeds game, but I think it might just be one of those days sort of thing. But I do think he's going to be something very, very big in the next couple of years, because he is only, what, 22, 23?
Yeah, he's 22. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's a fair comment. You know, I think yesterday he was trying to maybe do something a bit different. Leeds were basically sat back on the edge of their box at that point, and he was just being told to run at them, whereas Brentford were trying to push forward. So he was having to basically, it wasn't just between the halfway line and the opposition's byline. It was literally byline to byline. He was covering an awful lot of yardage in that time he was on the pitch yesterday, and he did a lot of running considering how long he was on the pitch. So I was very, very excited with that. Lads, let's finish this match review how we always do. Man of the match and honourable mentions. Drew, I'm going to start with you on this one, buddy. Your a couple of honourable mentions and your man of the match for the Brentford game yesterday.
Honourable mentions. I thought Cuenca, when he came on, was really good. He was only on the field for 10 minutes, and I think that we've got to give props to Silva, because I thought that defence that he finished with, and moving Sessegnon forward, and Iwobi into the 8, which we've all been crying for, but especially what he did with defensively, he moved Iwobi to the left back. I thought it was very good. He countered Brentford's physicality well, and they were just basically launching balls into the box because they were trying to out-muscle us. So Cuenca was good. I thought Johansson was good. I was pleased with the reaction of the players generally, especially after King made his mistake and then subsequently got booked. But the man of the match has got to be Iwobi, because he was simply stunning, and it was no surprise to me that his bigger impact was felt when he came inside. You know, when he moved across the field to place that slide rule pass into Wilson, when he got into the box to score a goal. I mean, you were quite right, people have been calling for him to be dropped. I've been calling for him just to be moved, because he can be so influential. And we talked about this, Ash, at the end of last season, when you were having difficulty with the fact that, well, not just you, that's not fair. We were all having difficulty with the fact that his performances just fell off a cliff. You know what I mean? Because he's so monumental for us when he's on form. He really is. It can't be overstated. I just wish we saw more of him on the ball in a central position. But yesterday he was fantastic. He really was. Yeah, so he's my man of the match.
Yes, fair shout. Fair shout. AJ, yourself, mate, a couple of honourable mentions and man of the match, please.
I think, as always, I've got to give plaudits to Kenny Tete. Didn't have much to do, granted, yesterday, but he did well. Same with Anderson. He's looking like the player we had prior to him leaving in the first place, more and more after each game. I think Leno did decently well when it came to all of those long throw-ins. Obviously, there were question marks a couple of weeks ago about how well he controls the box. He managed to get quite a few good punches and catch a few of the throw-ins and corners that were coming into him for a change, which was nice to see, especially as they're quite a tall side, Brentford. Harry Wilson, have to give him some credit. But I think, the man of the match has to go to Iwobi, frankly. It's quite clear how much more impact he can have as a central midfielder. And I quite like how we set up in that game. It was clear as day to Marco that they weren't going to be much of an offensive threat, which just basically allowed Sessegnon to play at left wing, and Iwobi to play as sort of this left midfielder that floated in and out of left back, left wing, left centre mid, and it just worked perfectly. Had we gone up against a better opposition, there'd be question marks of whether or not Bassi can cover that whole left-hand side flank on his own, but that's not a question we needed to worry about yesterday.
Yeah, I think it's a fair shout, mate. Really fair shout. Matthew, how about yourself, mate? Honourable mentions and a man of the match, please.
Honourable mentions for me are probably Sasha and Calvin Bassey, solely because Bassey was just everywhere in that defence last night. He was getting the balls that I didn't think that he would get to. I didn't realise how fast he was until last night. Sasha, like always, he puts his body in the line for the badge, runs non-stop, and just wins. But ultimately, man of the match for me, I think, has to be Iwobi. He's just, the way he played last night just reminded me of the way he came whenever he started at Fulham, whenever he was that free-flowing, just almost floating sort of player. And it was just good to see him back at that form.
Yeah, I think it's more than a fair shout for me. You said it. I think Calvin Bassey and Anderson deserve an awful lot of credit for the way they defended last night, considering the bombardment of throw-ins and corners that Brentford were basically playing for the whole game. I thought that Leno again did coped with that exceptionally well. The one time he looked like he may have been beaten was ironically if he just let the ball go in the goal, would have been thrown straight in and wouldn't have counted anyway, so it didn't really matter. But for me, it's only Alex Iwobi for me. Not just the goal and the assist, the quite frankly, even the maturity to be straight on to Josh King after the mistake and the goal was brilliant. I thought he was all over the park last night, but in the best way possible. Everywhere he needed to be, he was there. Every time he was needed at the back, he was there. When he was needed pushing forward, he was there. When he moved inside, it completely changed his game. He played for 3 or 4 different positions last night. When subs were made, he was brilliant. And I know I moaned about the fact that he wasn't dropped before the game. And as I said at the beginning, humble pie moment in the sense of he was outstanding. He's had a couple of quiet weeks, but he was brilliant last night, and it is as simple as that. Lads, thank you very much for joining me on this match review. For anyone who's watching, this obviously is coming out today on the Monday. Tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning, we have our Cambridge preview out, which obviously in the morning of the game. And then we'll hopefully get a Cambridge review filmed on Wednesday to be out on Thursday, along with our match preview for Villa on Friday. It's a busy week for Ful-on, so hopefully with the busy game week for Fulham as well, we'll have a good set of results. But we'll see you tomorrow for the Cambridge review. Nothing really more to say other than come on you Whites.